For police officers, firefighters, and military vets, the people who face trauma in the line of duty, finding a path to healing can be, well, incredibly tough. But what if a real solution could be found in a place very few expected? Today, we're going to dive into a totally groundbreaking approach to mental health that's happening right now in Arizona.
And you know what's happening in Arizona is genuinely historic. We're talking about a first-in-the-nation clinical trial. It's officially approved, it's funded by the state, and it's got the full green light from the federal FDA. This is a serious, pioneering step into a whole new world of therapy.
All right, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at the crisis our first responders are facing. Then, we'll get into Arizona's pretty unique response. We're going to go inside the clinical trial itself, trace the political road that made it happen, and then wrap up with what this could mean for the future of therapy.
So yeah, let's start with the core problem here. The reason this whole thing is even happening. It's the profound and so often hidden toll of post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, on the very people who serve and protect our communities.
I mean, it's a question that doctors, families, and politicians have been wrestling with for decades, right? Your standard treatments, they work for some, but they definitely don't work for everybody. So the search for something more effective isn't just urgent, it's something we absolutely have to do. And this is where Arizona steps onto the scene, with its own answer to that very question. It's a direct, innovative response that's starting to get a lot of attention from all over the country. Okay, so here's the headline. Arizona is officially investigating the potential of whole mushroom psilocybin to treat PTSD. And that's a really key detail. We're talking about using the natural fungus itself, not just a synthetic version of the active ingredient. Some researchers think that can make a huge difference. And look, this isn't some back-alley experiment. This is a state-sanctioned, federally authorized research project aimed squarely at helping vets and first responders.
And they're putting some serious money where their mouth is. The state legislature, with the governor's signature, set aside $5 million in grants just for this research. That level of financial commitment tells you just how seriously they're taking this.
So how does a study like this actually work? What does it look like on the inside? Let's peel back the curtain and check out the scientific blueprint that's in place here.
So this first trial is small, and it's super focused. We've got just 24 participants, and all of them have been diagnosed with PTSD. The group is split up evenly. 8 police officers, 8 firefighters, and 8 military veterans. The whole point is to see how this potential treatment actually works for the specific communities it's meant to help. And the level of control here is, well, it's meticulous. The substance, like we said, is whole psilocybin mushrooms, and they're grown at a DEA-licensed facility. Every participant gets a precise 30 milligram dose, and the entire thing happens in a safe, medically supervised setting. This is all about rigorous, careful science, no messing around.
Nicole Nichols, who's the executive director at the Scottsdale Research Institute leading this study, really nails the mission here. As she says, this is all about gathering sound data to make informed healthcare decisions. It's about evidence, plain and simple, not just stories or anecdotes.
But wait a minute, how did a study this revolutionary even get approved in the first place? To get that, we have to look at the pretty fascinating and complicated political journey that actually made it happen. You know, this path was not a straight line at all. In 2023, Governor Katie Hobbs actually vetoed a bill that would have opened up widespread therapeutic access. But then, in that same year, she signed the bill that gave the $5 million for this specific research trial. It was a compromise that basically said, okay, let's get the data first.
And this is where you can really see the political tightrope walk. The governor's office was cautious, saying, hey, we don't have enough evidence for a big rollout. But legislative champions, like Republican State Senator Kevin Payne, framed this study as the perfect middle ground, a responsible, evidence-based exploration. It's really a classic case of politics finding a way forward, and it created this research-first model that other states are definitely watching.
So what does all this add up to? Let's zoom out for a second and look at the bigger picture, because this one study, it could be the start of a whole new frontier in how we think about mental health therapy.
So here's the long game, summed up perfectly by Sue Sisley from the Research Institute. The goal isn't just to publish a study in a medical journal. No, it's to get real-world data that can directly guide future laws and policies. This study was designed from the ground up to be a beginning, a data-driven foundation for maybe, just maybe, expanding access later on.
And this trial isn't just happening in a vacuum. It's actually part of a much bigger bipartisan movement in Arizona. You've got lawmakers pushing bills to study psilocybin science more broadly and even fund trials for another psychedelic called ibogaine. There's even a separate law that gets the state ready for workers' comp to cover MDMA therapy if that becomes federally legal. It's a full court press to explore new solutions.
And so, that leaves us with this one final massive question. The data, the successes, the failures, everything that comes out of this small 24-person study in Arizona could have ripple effects all across the country. We are literally watching, in real time, as one state's evidence-based approach tries to write the first chapter in a brand new playbook for treating our nation's deepest and most invisible wounds.